What's up, everybody? John Eric Poli here, joined by Kyle Driscoll, who'll be fighting George Hardwick for the vacant Cage Warriors lightweight title at Cage Warriors 141 on July 22nd. Kyle, thanks for doing this, man. I know it's great to have you on. We were having a great conversation before we came on air here about some college football stuff. So really looking forward to this conversation, talking about fighting for a change instead of college football.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you having me on. Could talk college football all day, but fighting as well. Those are my two topics.
Well, we're going to have a great conversation here today, mostly fight related, but just for everybody out there, since we did bring up the college football thing, go ahead, tell everybody about your Oklahoma Sooners. I know you're expecting a big year, new coaching change, but still nonetheless, Oklahoma's always been one of the top programs in the country.
Yeah, I'm not too upset if it's a rebuilding year. We'll see where we're at, but with OU football, we're always expecting big things. Being on the cusp of the playoffs, see if we can get in, or just being right there and getting a good bowl.
All right, so now that the college football conversation's out of the way, let's get into the reason why we're here today. Your big fight here for the Cage Warriors title. Obviously, it's a huge opportunity for you. Just how are you feeling both physically and mentally as you head into what's probably got to be the biggest fight of your life?
Yeah, this is hands down the biggest fight of my life, and I feel everything's just coming full circle. I've been in this game for a long time now. I had my first fight at 17 years old. I lied to commission back in the day, took a fight, and I'm 27 now. So this is year 10 vision. This is everything I've been working for. Mentally and physically, I've never been so sound. I know that's so cliche. Every fighter says that, but that is what you should be saying, because you're constantly chasing the next best version of yourself. And that's what I'm after every day. I'm showing up to get better than I was the day before. The energy in the room at AK is second to none. We are pushing an insane pace. I have all the looks I need to mimic in any way my opponent could bring any problems. Mentally, extremely dialed in. Through the training, your confidence comes from your training put in, and this is the most confident I've ever been in my life.
So you told me something interesting before we were off air. You were saying that as far as your fighting career goes, you set this goal when you were 15 years old, that it was UFC or bust. Well, we know that Cage Warriors has a big history of producing UFC talent. Usually you win a Cage Warrior title, next stop is the UFC. Now that you're in this opportunity, just what does it mean to you to be right here where your whole entire goal, like it's all right in front of you, a win here, and you're pretty much in, you could say.
Yeah, man. And I've been here before. I was on Contender Series in 2020. And, when you're there and it's your dreams in the palm of your hand, and I still got the win, but I didn't get what I went there for. It was a UFC contract. So you face that adversity, and then you overcome that and you get back to it. I think that is an extremely powerful tool in my toolbox right here, because I'm going to make the most of this. I'm going to go put on a stellar performance and do what I have to do to get signed. And I'm just, back in the day when, Conor McGregor hit the scene, and then he started talking about law of attraction, and you can think about things and bring them about. So I took an early liking to Cage Warriors. Like before them crossing over to San Diego and bringing American fighters to Europe, before this was, I'm like 2015, 16, I was watching these Cage Warriors fights, watching Connor, watching Patty Pimblett, Chris Fishbowl, Jack Shore, and so I was just talking to my buddy the other day, it's crazy how life comes around. I would rather go to the UFC with this belt than my next fight be in the UFC.
And as we talk about how great it would be to go on to the UFC and how big this title is as far as doing that, there's something else that's big about this title. And it's funny, before we did this interview, I had to do my prep work for it, and I originally had written, I crossed it out, has there ever been an American to capture a title within the Cage Warriors promotion? I'm like, you know what, before I ask him that, let me Google it. I'm sure I can find the answer. And sure enough, I did find it. And you would be just the sixth American to win a title within the Cage Warriors promotion. What does that mean to you? Because this is obviously such a big European promotion, a lot of great European fighters in it. To just be one of a handful of Americans to do it has to be a big accomplishment too, I would think.
It means so much, and getting to represent my country, my home state of Oklahoma, California, going over there. And like we said off air, they're bringing me into enemy territory, and I love it. I couldn't have wrote this any better. It's like an assassin's mission. You go over low key, you find your target, you take them out, and you come back home. And that's exactly what's going to happen July 22nd. It's all just written perfectly. I think it's a perfect storm. And I've never been to Europe. I've always wanted to go to Europe. And now the fight game is taking me to Europe to accomplish a dream.
All right, so now let's talk a little bit of how you're going to accomplish this dream here, right? Training camp's going on right now. Obviously, you're one of the best gyms in the world, AKA. You gave a little shout out to them earlier. Just talk about your camp right now and how it's been going as you prepare for this fight.
Yeah, nothing changes, and that goes for any guy in the gym. Like, we don't really tailor our camps to an opponent. Like, sure, if you're fighting a southpaw, you'll spar southpaws because we have all the looks you need. But we every day, like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we spar. And after sparring, we have 5 live grappling rounds. We have our bike workout. Tuesdays, we wrestle. Thursdays, we do jujitsu. Like, it's just the same exact structure I'm doing off season, in season. There's little tweaks we make to make sure we're well prepared for what we're going against and to solve that puzzle. But just sticking to the AK regimen, the blueprint has been put in front of us with DC, Luke, Kane, Habib. The list goes on. Like, there's no fancy thing that needs to be done. You need to just follow the blueprint set before us. And that's what I'm doing. I've just bought into the system for 5 years now. I'm on an 8-fight win streak. I say my career started when I got to AKA. So I'm 8-0. I'm on an 8-fight win streak. This is going to move me to 9. And, the recipe works, and it's going to continue to work.
So you mentioned there, right, with AKA and kind of having the blueprint of what it takes to be a successful in 3, 2. And you mentioned there, right, about how AKA has the blueprint to what it takes to be a successful mixed martial artist. They have had so many accomplished, great champions across different promotions. You even name dropped some of them there. And there was a name that you did drop that I want to ask you about, and it is Habib Nurmagomedov. Of course, he's a fellow lightweight, right? He was such a great champ in the UFC, retired with an undefeated record. Obviously, his wrestling, second to none. So I got to ask, since you were, in the gym with him, did you ever get to actually wrestle him, and what was that experience like?
Yeah, man, that's he's been a staple of my career at AK. Like, even when I first got here, it started as like he would have guys come in for sparring rounds. So like when he was doing 5 rounds, you would maybe have round 4, maybe you'd have round 3 and 4, because he was just so in such good shape, could go so well. Like, he was having to have new guys all the time. Like, maybe you'd have round 1 and 3, someone has 2 and 4, and then someone's 5. So that's how it started with Habib. And then I started progressing and I started leveling up. And my wrestling, like I've been wrestling with him for 5 years now. I've been setting the pace with him. Like, when we're in our bike workout, I'm next to him. I look over and his bike says 65 RPMs. I'm 65. I'm matching. Like, he's my standard. He's always been my standard. And yeah, it's his wrestling is second to none. It's relentless. If you stop the first takedown, the second takedown, that's okay. He's going to come get 3, 4, 5, and 6. And there's no space to get up. So honestly, what would happen early in my career at AK, I would spar Habib and Islam Makhachev, and I would just get my ass beat. And then I would go to my fight and I would do exactly what they were doing to me to that guy. I get the Dagestani wrist lock, hit him, finish the fight there. So it's been through my lessons in the gym, I've implemented my own game plan, made it my own, and that's my style.
And I know we kind of got off talking with Habib and with AKA and everything. Obviously, we started that conversation about the preparation for this fight. So I do want to get back on topic here, talking about this upcoming fight. And I want to ask you about George now. Obviously, I'm sure he's going to be a game opponent. He'll be fired up being in his home country there. Just talk about him and what he brings to the table as an opponent.
I have a lot of respect for him. He's true to the game. I can tell. He's a mixed martial artist through and through. He doesn't cut corners. He takes his nutrition serious. I'm taking him very serious. You have to, right? He's in this world title position for a reason. But I just think with my wrestling, it's no secret. George knows I'm going to come and wrestle him. But I mean, he's adequate. He's good. He brings the high guard boxing style. He wants to counter. He's got good left hooks. He likes to dig to the body. He's got decent kicks. Yeah, we broke him down. We watched him with the watchful eye, kind of pick up his tendencies. But I think there's something he doesn't have, and that's old-fashioned American wrestling, leg attacks, chain wrestling. And when you haven't felt that, I've been wrestling since I was 4 years old. I was a two-time state champion in Oklahoma, senior national champion. Like, this is what I do. I can wrestle for 25 minutes if I have to. If I get there in London, July 22nd, my takedowns are just incredibly easy. I'm going to wrestle him the whole time if I have to, until I get it. If I find a finish. If not, they can thank me for the wrestling clinic. But not only that, I'm well-rounded. I've been tailoring my game to be a well-rounded fighter at AK for 5 years now. Every day when I fight, I'm back in the gym the next week. I'm in the gym. Sure, it's not the same intensity, but that's where you learn. That's where you pick up new tools. Because in camp, you have to hyper focus on what you're looking to do. And I've developed everything. Part of me wonders if they think I can't strike that well. But I made the mistake on Contender Series. I heard Michael Bisping right before I walked out say, if Kyle Driscoll can't get this fight to the ground, he's going to be in trouble. I was fighting a boxer, one of Calvin Cater's sparring partners. And I said to myself, I said, watch this. And so I went out there and I outboxed the boxer. That was I shouldn't have done it. If I would have stuck to our game plan like I did in the first round, I'd be in the UFC right now. But everything happens for a reason. I went and I outboxed the boxer. And in my sparring rounds now, my striking is incredibly crisp. My range is dialed in. Using feints to draw things out. I just feel incredibly well-rounded, and he's going to be sharp too, but there's something he doesn't have, and it's wrestling, and that's going to be the difference maker.
So you mentioned, right, that the game plan is to come out and show the American wrestling, that American chain wrestling that a lot of people over in the UK wouldn't be too familiar with. But I did want to ask, and maybe this does fall along the lines of the game plan here, but I would think that he's in his home country, the home crowd's behind him, a lot of people cheering for him. He's probably going to have some adrenaline, probably going to come out fast, in all honesty, you would imagine. If that is the case, are you prepared for that, or does it not matter if he comes out fast or slow, because for you the game plan is to utilize the wrestling there?
Let's get after it. First 10 seconds. George has a very collected pace. He's very methodical in what he does. He finds his openings. He takes his time. And if that's the case, I'm going to put a pace on him, make him work quicker than he wants to. But if he wants to come out and fight early on, that's the game plan. I want to create a fight. I want to fight for 25 minutes. I want to make it a dog fight. I want to take him to a dark, dark place he's never been, and we'll find out who dwells there longer. And it's as simple as that. But when I watch him in 3-round fights, he takes his time. He finds his shots, and that's fine. But I'm just going to turn this into a dogfight as quick as possible.
And now I want to ask you about something, or actually two things that you kind of alluded to in one of your answers earlier. One of which you were talking about how successful you were in high school at wrestling. Oklahoma is known as a great wrestling state. I know, obviously, right? We opened up talking about college football. You're a big OU fan. You went to Oklahoma. Did you get a chance to try to wrestle for the Sooners or anything that you were so accomplished down there, or what's the story there?
Yeah, but I burned out quick, so I don't even talk about it, because there's so many high-level college wrestlers I'm around that I just don't even touch on that side of things, because I'd wrestled since I was 4, man. I was always going to nationals, the state tournaments, everything, every weekend. There was no summer in high school. There was no prom. There was no, we wrestled. And when I got to OU to wrestle, it was just like, I was absolutely burned out. I stopped showing up to practice, and I just quit within the first semester. And then I had fought twice in high school, and I had 2 amateur MMA fights in high school. And so just not wrestling for like less than a month, I was unfulfilled. And so I flipped the switch and said, I'm going to start fighting again.
Gotcha. And then just the other thing I wanted to ask you about. So obviously, won't bring up any more of the wrestling stuff there, but I did want to ask you about another experience of yours. Something again that you alluded to in one of the answers earlier. You were talking about your time on the Contender Series there, where you kind of listened to Bisping and you did the whole boxing thing that you did there. Well, obviously, we know everything happens for a reason. Like we were saying before, if you get a win here, you get the title. More than likely, it is the UFC is going to be the next thing for you there. The fact that you had that experience of competing, in front of Dana White, the UFC commentary, got a fight inside the octagon. Do you think that all of this is kind of scripted for a big moment in the UFC, that you kind of have all of this experience without getting to the big dance just yet?
Yeah, I think so many people in this game, and I got caught up in it early on, was you want to get there quick. You want to get there now. I want to be there now. But looking back, and when I meditate on it and stuff, it's the biggest blessing in the world that it's taking a little bit longer, because I've been able to develop skill and just kind of grow up. I'm 27, about to be 28. So I feel what they talk about, like that man strength, I feel like I'm kind of getting a hold of that a little bit. You know what I mean? So yeah, dude, I keep saying it. I think this is just scripted for me. I think this was absolutely perfect. I have, it takes two to tango, and I have an incredible opponent that I'm super happy to go fight. I've been looking for, like, I would talk to Bob Cook and Hav, and even on, like, I fought for Combate Americas, LFA. Contender Series was a little short notice. It was like 2 weeks, but I would have these good opponents, and then they would fall out. And then I'd go through like 4 or 5 opponents for a fight. And it would always just like, I'd end up with a journeyman, or it just wasn't, not sleeping on them, but it wasn't what I wanted. Now I got George, who's 9-1 on like a 4-fight win streak or something. And I get to display my skills against someone like him.
Awesome, man. Well, we're looking forward to seeing it. It's a big opportunity, one that you're definitely made for. You experienced a lot in the MMA career here so far. One last thing now before you roll out, go ahead, plug your social media so people know where to follow you at. You have any sponsors, management, anyone you got to give a shout out to that you haven't done so already? Floor is yours. Take it away.
Yeah, man. You can find me at Kai Driscoll on all social media handles. My biggest sponsor is Boomer Products. They have a Gladiator barley. It's incredible for reducing inflammation, muscle development. Perry for your rash guards, and jiu-jitsu gear. Just everyone in my corner, man. My family, my friends, my girlfriend. It takes a village. It's only one of us in the cage, but I have an incredible support system. Yourself for giving me the platform to talk. Yeah, man, I'm ready to go. All my coaches that are investing in me, my teammates that push me. So get ready for July 22nd.
Hey, Kyle, no problem at all. It was great having you on here today, man. Really appreciate it. It was a great conversation. Hopefully next time we'll be able to talk a little bit more college football. It'd be nice if we time it right around the college football season next time. But, man, it was a great conversation today. Really, really enjoyed it. Again, everybody, Kyle will be fighting for the vacant Cage Warriors lightweight title on July 22nd at Cage Warriors 141. Make sure you guys have that date circled. Make sure you're going to MyMMANews.com for all of our great content. If you like today's interview, please go to the bottom, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe to this YouTube channel as well. We'll see you later, everybody.